Wait, there's something very weak coming through.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
Hello, fellow Galactic listeners. I'm Aaron Julian, and this is WSTR Galactic Public Access, a Star Wars podcast. Welcome to episode 149. Today, we are going to be talking to none other than actor Dominic Pace from a little-known TV show. You know, it's broadcast on Disney+. It's called The Mandalorian. But first, we got some co-hosts to introduce before we get to that interview with good old Dominic Pace. Joining me today, as always, Miss Heather Allred.
Hello, everyone. That was really high. Hello, everyone.
You're just excited.
I am excited.
Got a good nap in. You're raring and ready to go. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Awesome. We've also got Mr. Todd Hoffman.
Hello there. See, I went lower that time.
Thank you.
Yeah, because Heather was high.
Balance it out.
Right. It's all about balance. So I went low. Yeah.
It's like poetry. It rhymes.
Right.
Glad you could join us, Mr.
Yes.
Double D.
Yes.
We also have Miss Carla Giacalone. She's got the day off.
She's marathoning like
she's
Star Wars.
And Mr. JD Barrow, he's getting married. Not true, but he is at a wedding. I'd be offended if he was getting married and didn't invite me.
There.
Yeah. He's on our podcast and we didn't even get an invite. That's bad, man.
I know. You weren't even there at his debut. One of these days, we will get everybody on in the same boat.
Yeah,
but it is not this day.
Go Power Rangers, man! If we have 5, we're creating like some cool mech, you know?
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's plow right ahead. Let's pay some bills. You can find everybody here except myself on social media, WSTR Media, all one word, all lowercase. You can email us at mailbox@wstrmedia.com. Leave us a voicemail at 630-557-WSTR. That's 630-557-9787. We want to hear from you, and you want to hear your gorgeous voice blasted across the galactic holonet. Our entire back catalog of episodes and all links can be found at podcast.wstrmedia.com. And this podcast is brought to you by Audible, Amazon's premier audiobook streaming service. You can get a 30-day free trial, have your choice of one of over 425,000 titles to choose from, 2 free Audible originals. Head on over to audibletrial.com/WSTR. No risk 30-day trial. If you're not happy, you can cancel at any time. No questions asked. No imperial entanglements.
Wow, that's good.
I'm surprised that we've gone like 150 episodes and I haven't thought of that one yet.
Yeah, I was like, dude, that was good.
All right. So once again, head over to audibletrial.com/WSTR for your free audiobook today. We also got merch at our merch store, store.wstrmedia.com. The good folks over at Teespring have our shelves stocked with gear to cover your goodness.
What?
How many?
You had a stroke.
cover
yourself head to toe in our gear that's just bursting from the shelves. We got hats, we got leggings, we got socks, we got mugs, and everything you could want. WSTR Media merch is there at store.wstrmedia.com. And finally, we are brought to you by our good folks over at Patreon and our generous patrons. Did you know our streaming costs, our hosting costs, our bandwidth is now paid for in full thanks to our generous patrons? That's right.
What is happening?
We set a goal. We needed $22 a month to cover our hosting costs. We just put it out on the old Twitter, and some generous people stepped up to the plate, and we're now fully funded. So Our next
We
goal.
are fully functional and operational.
Yes. So a huge thank you to everybody who is contributing to that, especially Mr. Jeremy Myers. You have gone above and beyond the call of duty to getting us funded. So thank you. But we've got another goal. $100 a month will allow us to set aside some funds for a rainy day and invest in some serious podcast equipment upgrade for some of our hosts. So
We're all getting meditation chambers, right? That's what we're doing, right?
Eventually.
Podcasts like
maybe
Darth
by
Vader,
maybe
Darth
by
Vader,
episode 300.
right? Like Darth Vader, like it like kind of open and close, and you're like, yes, I'm podcasting. And you're just like, boom, and you're in.
Yeah, it's the podcast chamber. It's fully sound treated.
Right, exactly.
So if you want to join in on the action, head on over to patreon.com/WSTR Media. We've got exclusive content there. Bet you didn't know that. We've got one series, Heather's Holocron, where she takes you along on her journey as she learns more about the Star Wars universe and all the details within.
I was going to say, why don't you let Heather explain that?
Yeah.
He was doing pretty good. I was like, all right, that works.
Well, tell us. Yeah, tell us more. What's going on with Heather's Holocron?
Yeah, so I got my first episode launched out there. So if you haven't signed up for Patreon, go ahead and check it out. Hear what the Holocron is all about. And I am just about done getting the second episode recorded, and then we'll get Jedi Master Aaron to spice it up and get it up on the web for you guys.
The dark web.
Web. So yeah,
No,
but
just
it's
patreon.com.
just simple.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's just every time I talk to these crazy folk or hop online, I see something new that I didn't know was part of the universe, and I'm like, what's that? And then Heather learns about it, and then I talk about it.
Right on. We've also got a new show by me and JD, where we go off on a bit the deeper end of the swimming pool when it comes to weird Star Wars nerd niche stuff.
You're swimming in midi-chlorians, man. You're just swimming there.
Yes. We are up to our necks in midichlorians over on Starside Chat. So it's just we cover topics that might not make the cut for a full episode, but it's still a topic that we want to go in depth on. In our latest episode number 2, we were talking about critics. Critics for Star Wars, critics on YouTube, the role of critics in fandoms, and how it applies to Star Wars as we know it. It's quite the good episode. So for just $4 a month, both Heather's Holocron and Starside Chat can be yours every week over at patreon.com/WSTR Media. But of course, any and all contributions are highly prized and highly appreciated. So thank you. Heather, let's go ahead and tease that news.
All right, our friends and family, I've got some news teasers for you, and hopefully they'll get your juices flowing about what we're talking about.
Oh my gosh, okay.
Number 1, teddy bears.
Oh.
And then
It's a new Ewok movie. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
On Disney Plus.
And then number 2 is on the 4th night.
Okay.
Grab the popcorn.
Oh boy. Drama.
Buttered or unbuttered, whatever you prefer.
Yeah.
Or caramel corn.
Sure.
Chicago mix for us Garrett's popcorn fans.
Mm-hmm.
McClunky. And then lastly, Jedi Rock.
All right.
What's out, baby?
Rock and roll. That's weird. I don't know. Because I don't know what it is. That's why I'm here, just to tease it.
Yeah,
Up the irons. All right, Todd, you got something for us?
Twitter, trash compactor.
Get in there, you big polio! I don't care what you smell! Get in there and don't worry about
All right. Every week we are running those polls. So this week is no different because we're talking about the little show called The Mandalorian. So the question was, what do you think of The Mandalorian? So we have 4 choices here. I've seen better, need to see more, feed me more, or finally mind blown. So we'll go with ladies first. Out of these 4 choices, Miss Heather, what would you have chosen or did choose?
So when the poll went out, I hadn't actually seen Mandalorian yet. I know everyone is shocked and dismayed.
Right.
But I did finally see it. So everyone remain calm. So honestly, my gut, and that's what I'll go with in my voting, would be feed me more. As in a feed me more, feed me see more. Like I need more. I have questions.
Right. Okay, that's good. All right, Aaron. What would you have chosen, my friend?
I think you know.
I do.
Mind blown.
Explosions.
Yeah. So I don't know if we should let the cat out of the bag, but Todd and I have seen a lot of The Mandalorian, and
we're in the future. We're like in the future. Yeah, we're still in the future.
That's true.
We'll just tease it right there. Just tease it.
Yeah.
We'll table that to Cantina Chat.
Yes. Put a pin in that.
Yeah. So you feel mind blown. Yeah.
It is mind blown because I love Star Wars. I love Westerns. I love samurai films. And this is like a heady mixture of all 3. And it just couldn't be cooler, in my opinion. I think they're pulling it off really well. They are showing rather than telling. They're doing a lot of world building, and they're striking out on their own away from the Skywalker saga, and they are proving that you can tell a Star Wars story apart from perhaps what George Lucas originally envisioned, and you can do it well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it the most mind-blowing?
If you keep on talking about, we're going to just stop and land on Mandalorian. So we got to stop.
Yeah.
I'll have to say, if you could get an Ugnaught and a Max Man and you can't even see his face, and have this like awesome like conversation and scenes, I mean, you're winning life.
Mm-hmm.
Winning life.
Yeah.
I mean, so anyways, we've been talking about Mandalorian in just a second. Okay. Yes. I'm right with Mr. Aaron because I feel like my mind is blown.
Mm-hmm.
I was giggling literally the first time, he steps through the bar and the guy's like, oh, this guy's got good glands. I'm like, this is Star Wars. It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
So anyways, we have to stop because if I keep on talking, I'm just going to go crazy. But Twitter agreed with Aaron and myself. Mind blown. So that was 41%. So a strong 37% for Feed Me More. So right behind you there, Heather. So
my mind wasn't not blown. My gut is I need more of this thing. So
right. Yeah. Just feed me more. Right. Exactly. No, I get it. So there you go. Every week we are running those polls. So please, thank you for voting. Continue to vote, and we will have them every week.
Okay, I think it's time we move on to our main topic.
And now for our feature presentation.
All right, so on the show today, as we've mentioned, we've got one of the actors who is involved in The Mandalorian. He is in the house being beamed through the magic of hologram technology right into our podcast, Mr. Dominic Pace. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, and hello to all your listeners.
Awesome. It's great to have you on. Thank you so much for making the time.
Absolutely.
So Dominic, I know you've been chatting with Todd since like March about being on the show, and it's been back and forth and all sorts of crazy nonsense. But now the cat is out of the bag. You are on the hottest show I was about to say on TV, but in the world, in the galaxy. Is that overstating it a bit?
I hope it is understating, whatever it is. It's just I'm like a Star Wars fan. I'm like a kid in the candy store. I feel like 10 years old the past year. You got to imagine it's like winning the lottery and not being able to tell anyone. So like, reaching out to you guys in March I just couldn't contain the excitement there. So
man,
really
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, so here's our first question, and we ask this of every guest because we believe that the shared experience of Star Wars is what binds us together and holds the fandom together, and is how we can experience something beautiful together. So we want to know, how did you get into Star Wars? How did that become a part of your life?
Sure. As far as just as a fan, or just inside the Mandalorian, into the Mandalorian?
Let's start with as a fan, and then as the Mandalorian.
I was 5 years old. I think most kids from the 80s, you didn't have many options, but also, George Lucas was so ahead of his time. So for a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old to have that Cantina playset, my mom was a single mom. We didn't have much money, so the creativity and the imagination fueled out of these 12 original characters. We used to go to the public library and listen to John Williams, and it was just so moving. It would pull at your heartstrings, almost even before I could spell. I remember my first word I spelled on this magnetic alphabet board was Jawa, but the music of John Williams just pulled at me. I didn't see episode 4 in the theaters. I was too young, but what a profound effect Empire Strikes Back had. It's still one of my favorite movies of all time, but to take that in like a sponge as a 6-year-old, combined with John Williams' music, it has stayed with me ever since, and I've been a lifelong collector, a fan, and obviously now just beyond words in terms of this being an absolute dream come true.
Wow, that's fantastic. Wow. So it was almost seeped into your DNA from a very impressionable age.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, if there's any way to will something, where I had the bed sheets and the curtains and my playset, everything surrounded me. It was almost like it could do a magical fantasy movie about one day getting my dream to be my own one-of-a-kind, unique bounty hunter in my favorite franchise. Wow. I'm just beyond words. Right now, I just can't do enough. I can't give enough to others in terms of just how grateful I am for this opportunity.
Wow, that's amazing.
Wow.
And you also mentioned the music element of that and how that impressed upon you emotionally, everything that was happening. Maybe even before you could actually understand what was happening in the story, it's like it affected you on another level.
Yeah, normally with composers, a lot of directors become egotistical where they don't give carte blanche to the composer, and how grateful we all are that Spielberg and Lucas gave John Williams all the power to paint with all the colors in the universe as far as with music. 3 months ago, I took my family to the Hollywood Bowl, and it was just so emotional because you can see him getting a little older, but it's so beautiful to watch the Star Wars fans unite, to how everybody just gave him a standing ovation. He wasn't able to do the entire show, but just you can feel the love that we have for this man, for pulling out our heartstrings, not only with Star Wars, but all his entire legendary career. He's just a one-of-a-kind. And people always ask me, even when I used to go on dates when I was younger, what your favorite music is, maybe classic rock, or what have you. It's John Williams. The man in and of itself is his own genre. And it's inspired me throughout my entire career. Music, a lot of my old acting classes, we would start the class 15, 20, 30 minutes with just music in and of itself. And it's so powerful. And that's half of the battle for me, or half of the prize in terms of enjoying Star Wars, is this legend of John Williams in terms of enjoying the power and the intensity of his music, which again brings us all to tears.
Wow, that's amazing. And so transitioning from that, how'd you get into acting, and then how did that lead into what you're experiencing now with The Mandalorian?
Sure, a little Italian American, cliche. I was playing Danny Zuko in high school, in the High School Musical. I had 1,000 of my classmates. They were cheering me on in upstate New York, Austin, New York, about 40 minutes north of New York City. And the adrenaline rush was just second to none. I was a good athlete. I was a good pitcher. I threw maybe close to 80 miles an hour, and I used to love that adrenaline of striking someone out. But when I was on stage, the power, the intensity, the feeling that I felt, and also the inspiration of all these amazing 80s films that we grew up with, Back to the Future and Goonies and Gremlins and Star Wars and Indiana Jones, the magic of Harrison Ford, it just really motivated me to want to express myself and to be one of them one day. So I left college after 1 year. I knew it was going to be difficult. I call myself a blue-collar actor, and that I've taken every single job you can imagine as far as to just make ends meet. And hence you see all the credits on my IMDb resume from just hustling and never giving up. but it's been a struggle ever since. And, it's just a great lesson to just never give up, take whatever job you can, and dreams come true.
Wow. So you've almost had your own hero's journey in that you looked up to all these great films and characters from the 80s, and man, what a time to grow up. And that's what kept you going through all the difficulties of trying to find work as an actor. Is that right?
Yeah, it's true. And I would suggest this to anyone in any trade, to treat every opportunity as a privilege. If you're watching the Academy Awards every March and you're getting like upset, being like, oh God, I wish I was one of them. You can look at it two different ways, and unfortunately in professional sports and in professional acting, it's usually just the top 1% that are rewarded. But what I want to say is no matter what occupation you do, to appreciate those little victories, those little guest stars. Perhaps, sometimes in certain seasons, the fall season or spring season, I may just get one guest star or one co-star, but I always cherish that as a privilege. I was born just to stay, I was raised to just stay grounded and to appreciate every opportunity. My upbringing, from my grandparents to my mom to my hometown, it was like the world owes you nothing. So I've been able to have a really good outset, and just an outlook in terms of life and just in terms of an appreciation for every opportunity, which has kept me alive and kept me strong for all these years. And actually really pleasant in terms of appreciating every moment, as opposed to being like, oh, now I got to go back to this odd job, or I got to do this or do that. It's just been such a joy to be able to play out my dream.
Wow. Well said. So you're out there, you're trying to find every part that you can get. What happened from there to where you are now with The Mandalorian?
Sure. Well, I've had these agents over the years where I'll book a guest star. I've done numerous guest stars. I just finished a nice one on 911 on Fox. And my last agent would be like, no, you don't want to do this. No, you don't want to take that. No, let's just keep you up at guest star or above, series regular, recurring. Well, what the agents don't understand is if you're not working, or if you're holding out for a month or two for the high roles, then you have to work an odd job. And for me, I just love this industry so much, like so many people, to where just being on set is just a dream come true. So I accepted a simple makeup test from a company called Legacy Effects. The gentleman that met me at the door was Brian Sipe. Brian Sipe headed up Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy. I think Batista for every movie had maybe about 60 to 90 different prosthetics in order to get in and out of. Brian was the head of it. I didn't know anything about the project at that time. There was no words to me at all that there would be any future hiring, but I was just very patient in his chair. I had previous prosthetic experience on Bright with Will Smith. I was one of the orcs. I photo doubled on Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman. I was Frankenstein's photo double and stand-in. So I've always taken all these odd jobs. So I had a lot of experience. I never got any claustrophobia. There's no ego. There's no attitude to me. It's just to come to work and to be proud to come to work. Well, not only did I get the news 2 weeks later when I was in the wardrobe room at Manhattan Beach Studios that I was going to be a bounty hunter, but Brian came to me and he said, I want to give you the most extensive makeup because your patience and your attitude was the best I have seen. And I want to give you this creative character. I was inspired by a character that I modeled years ago called Gecko. And long story short, we're one kind of bounty hunter. Next Friday is going to be like Christmas for me. I was a little out of focus in the first episode, but we'll have some really good featured shots alongside one of my idols, Carl Weathers, come Friday. And the rest will be history. Hopefully, God willing, we'll get a figure.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, it's Star Wars when you have 1 second of film and you could be an action figure. So
Yeah.
I think you're in good company.
And again, I mean, that's the thing. It's funny because when you talk to other people that aren't Star Wars fans, you're just like, dude, you guest star on shows. You've been recurring on Superstore, Jimmy Kimmel Live. You star in movies. I'm like, you don't understand. I mean, and thank God it's more than just 1 second. But I mean, just again, to be a one-of-a-kind species and bounty hunter in the universe, for me, this sounds really strange. I mean, don't get me wrong. I respect the art of acting. But the whole reason I got in this business was for escapism, for the joy of just being, having fun. And that's what we go to the movies for. So for me to get my own action figure would be equivalent to an Academy Award. I kid you not, to be a Black Series figure as this Gecko bounty hunter, this badass 6'4" guy with this blaster that I picked out of 20 would just be beyond words. It would be such a dream come true.
So can you kind of walk us through from, all right, so now you're in the chair, you kind of understand that this is going to be a Star Wars project. So then how did you get into like, okay, now you're going to be on set? Like how does that work?
Well, there was still, I still had to hold my breath. I had a guest star in 2004 opposite one of my idols, Chaz Palminteri. And the show was called Dr. Vegas. It starred Rob Lowe. And the week before our episode was supposed to air, I took an ad out in Hollywood Reporter. I was so excited. They canceled the show. I never got to see the episode. And it was heartbreaking for me. And the other thing is, what was going through my mind at that time was we got so close to being in Star Wars that now we need to make sure that we're established and to make sure that we're there. So Favreau and Filoni kept staring at me. 1 week went by to where after the Cantina stuff, we had a lineup with an amazing director who's going to be heading up the Kenobi series, Deborah Chow. And I made the cut down to about 8 to 9 bounty hunters. And not only did I make that cut, but they had me flanking. I don't want to give away any spoilers, but they had me very close to Carl in a very specific situation that's about to play out. So between that and then also some other special shots within the Cantina, the rest was history. Not to sidetrack a little bit, but the first day I'm walking on set, and I wish that I could have taken my eyes, my brain, my heart, my soul, and put it into every Star Wars fan, because walking into the Cantina for the first time, folding his arms up against the bar, was Favreau's birthday, was none other than George Lucas. I swear to God, I never get starstruck.
First day on set?
Yeah, he's right there. I work along, and you see it on Fav's Instagram and such.
Correct.
I have never been starstruck. I've met him 15 years ago briefly, but to be amongst his universe and to be a one-of-a-kind creature and have him look at me and me look back at him, and Filoni and Favreau had this great demeanor about them. They're just simplistic in that they're just smiling. They are amazing leaders, but at the same time, they just have this friendliness about them to where you want to grab a beer with both of them. But to have that energy, plus Kathleen Kennedy and Carl, who's just such a legend of an actor, again, being inspired by Rocky and, as an Italian-American and also growing up with African-Americans in my community in New York, the whole thing was just, I just, as actors, we're constantly chasing for the next job. But I got to tell you, for the next year, and I promise this to the 501st and Mandalorian Mercs, anything I can do to pay it forward as far as autographs or appearances or what have you, you hit a certain point in your life where I am just so grateful and so humble to have had this opportunity each and every day on set. Was beyond anything a Star Wars fan from Generation X could have ever asked for.
That's amazing. That's one way to start day one on the set.
I'm not tearing up. It's fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah. And it's funny. So I don't know if you guys remember the old film Big with Tom Hanks. There's a scene that he has in the office when he's grown up. And John Lovitz is right next to him, and he gets his paycheck, and it's like $168, right? And he's like, $168, he's freaking out. And John Lovitz is like, yeah, it works. This job sucks. So I was going in with 2 other bounty hunters in the changing room, and I'm freaking out as a Star Wars fan. And these guys are like, yeah, another day of work. All right, let's see what we got. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me right now? I couldn't contain my excitement. I'm sorry for jumping around. I'm just, like I said, I'm like a kid in a candy store. But one other funny story I wanted to share for your listeners.
Please, go ahead.
Yeah, this character was based off of a gecko type model that Brian did at a Greenpeace event 2 or 3 years prior. The gecko model had bumps on its head. So when I had an initial screen test on our first day that we had to play dress up there and we had the prosthetics, etc., it was a 2-hour process. He dressed me in this gecko prosthetic. Well, it had the 2 humps. I have a hood. I'm going to go through a detailed cosplay tutorial for all the people. God, if anyone cosplays me, I'm going to freak out and give them my whole autograph and merch collection at any of the Comic-Cons. But anyhow, they wanted me to do the screen test around this Morsure Farm backdrop to where I'm going around and you're staying in character. And I had that, this kind of intensity about me. I'm so different in character. And I reveal myself with the hood, almost like a Luke Skywalker thing from Return of the Jedi. So I start hearing a few snickers from some of the other bounty hunters. And all of a sudden I'm like, hey, what's funny? They said, dude, no offense or anything. You're playing this awesome alien, but it really looks like you have boobs on your head. I'm not going to lie. So I go over to Brian, right? So Favreau's there, Filoni, I'm Dominic Pace. I'm a freaking C-lister here, and it's like, I don't mean to throw my freaking weight around, but I go over to Brian and I said, I don't want to be one of those meme guys where it's like, gets in Star Wars, has boobs on his head. So I said, Brian, I am 6'4". I'm 260 pounds. I got the same size of like Kane Hodder from Jason. Friday the 13th. This is the first time somebody could see a 6'4" freaking bounty hunter. I said, let's make him freaking badass. If there's anything, I don't care what you do. If it's horns, if it's bumps, whatever, I don't know, but just anything but freaking a D-cup boobs on my freaking head. So Brian's looking, and then, John and David were doing their own thing, and Deborah was there. But Brian, he's the nicest guy ever. You got him. I mean, just such a cool, laid-back guy. If you haven't followed Brian's site makeup, he's a legend in what he does. And thank God, Monday morning, waiting for me, the crown of my head was these 4 horns. And thank God, because otherwise I would not be taking these interviews. No, that wasn't me. Hey, Dominic, I could swear I saw you in Star Wars. No, that wasn't me. That wasn't me.
leave that off the IMDb credits.
Yeah, some guy that looks Armenian or something.
Yeah,
I don't
it's just
know.
like
These Armenians are all over the place.
Yeah, right. It's like boob bounty hunter,
Yes. Yeah, if it was in the 80s, it would be like Boob Man,
Right.
Yeah.
Like, no. It's gay. So now, and then Richard A. Poor is the costume designer. I could have had this narcissistic moment to where I could have shown my face. They almost forgot my face mask before I got onto set for the first time. And I said, no. I said, this would look so badass and imposing to have this mask. Richard initially pulled for it, the costume designer, but they lost it at the last minute. And I just played dumb, and I said, let's just hang out a little bit, because they were rushing me to set. They obviously need to get the first shot up. And when you have all these prosthetics with all these creature aliens, it takes a long time to get everybody prepped. So they were trying to rush me, but I said, no, please, let me keep this, because it kind of had that Bane badass look to it. And I said, this is really going to make an amazing figure one day. So as much as I wanted to have my face seen, I wanted to have this kind of imposing look with the mask. And I'm so happy I waited for it, because I think it really adds to the character.
Wow. So can you, for somebody unfamiliar with how the process works for film, can you walk us through what being in the makeup chair is like?
Yeah, it was a 2-hour process. Normally, if it was a modern day crime drama, first off, I know Jim Carrey it's a very famous story of him hiring a Navy SEAL, because he had to go through 6 hours a day. I think even Ron Howard dressed up like he was like his daddy next to him. Listen, if you're making $250,000 a day, come on. I mean, we're busting our ass here. I'm sorry, but I mean, you've got to be kidding me with that story. It's Ron Howard had to freaking hold his hand and dress up as the Grinch next to him. You got to be kidding me. So anyhow, for me, it was a 2-hour process. But again, I think every Star Wars fan would be able to relate, as painful as sometimes it is inhaling some of the paint. I was, just like now, it's just so much adrenaline in terms of being so excited that you're watching your own unique Star Wars character be formed in front of you. It was a 2-hour process. There's no, going on your phone. There's no falling asleep. You're just basically standing up. You're keeping your head straight. We would have simple conversations, but even then you'd have to keep your mouth shut, which I'm sure some people would be happy with. Like, we're going to spray your mouth again. We want you to shut the hell up. No, but
man.
But honestly, I'm just so excited. But I mean, at that point, you're just quiet and professional, especially 6 a.m. in the morning. People are just waking up. So it was a 2-hour process. Then I would go into wardrobe first. It was a 3-piece sort of a set in terms of like an undergarment. And then I had this big dark blue robe, which I thought was really cool, a belt buckle that buckles from behind. Then I had, of course, the signature Star Wars bandolier, which is nice and gritty and dirty. You'll see it Friday night. And black boots, black gloves. I had forearm guards as well that were stitched into my dark blue robe. And then what they did, it took longer the first day because they needed to paint the crown and the mold. But after that, they actually kept the mold painted. So then they only had to do the rest of my head except for the crown. They had a little bit of a gauze issue in terms of the transition, where it was really kind of a sharp transition between the prosthetic on my head and then also my real head. So Brian created sort of this softer gauze, which transitioned it a lot better to make it look like a continuation of my head. Plus the VFX artists, who are second to none over there, a couple of good friends of mine who they were doing it overseas, I'm sure are going to be able to add to it to make it look like a really smooth transition there. Then you get to set, 15, 16-hour days. Again, I picked the heaviest blaster. I didn't even care if I was carrying 20 pounds on me. I mean, God bless, our military and the firemen. For me to be in Star Wars, I didn't care. You have to carry that blaster with you the whole day, but I did it with such pride, just like any kid in the candy store would.
Wow. All right, Dominic, first off, I just have to say your energy is just incredible. I just want to be your best friend.
Thank you. Like I said, you hit a certain point, maybe we all ask ourselves, like, what in life would make you happy? And it's like I was in Italy. My wife's niece was getting married in Sicily last year. And these families, they're very un-American-like, to where they just take 3-week vacations and they're just content with everything in their life. And before this moment, I was always chasing, and what other guest star can I get? What co-star can I get to keep building my career? Where can I, this independent film might be greater, et cetera, et cetera. But I've hit a point. It's like literally like it's just everything I ever asked for. The whole reason I want to get in this business, everything's getting so political now and everything else. For me, I've just been an 80s kid to where I just want to entertain you. I just want you to escape. And the first time that I heard a standing ovation was Return of the Jedi. I was 10 years old in Yonkers, New York with my mom and my sister. And it was the most beautiful feeling ever. And to be a part of that, and hopefully this Friday it's going to come true for me, as opposed to every little crime drama I've ever done. I am so freaking content. Anything I can do to help others, to make them smile now, it's all borrowed time now, because, again, this was my dream, just to be in Star Wars, and everything else moving on forward. People are like, oh, where are you going to be typecast? And I had a friend of mine, I worked on a Joey Fatone movie that's going to be, I don't know what the hell it's called, these friggin' projects. So, it's like project number 2 that nobody cares about. But anyhow, it's like Joey Fatone. It's like, dude, you got to be careful with the Comic-Cons. I'm like, what? I'm like, this is Star Wars. I want to freaking own this character for the rest of my life.
Yes. All right. So we know you've been in episode 1. We're about to see you in episode 3.
Yeah.
So for those of us who know filmmaking, that's not always equivalent to how many days on set. So talk us through how many days were you on set?
I was there for 9 days. We had the cantina in the first week. On Friday, we had a lineup. Little did I know it was going to be the most important lineup of my life. As much as it was great to be featured in the trailer, which would have been fine in the first week, I would have been featured. And then also you see me in an obscure manner throughout the cantina in episode 1. I didn't realize how important that lineup is until now, to where the second week, where Deborah handpicked me, is basically going to be the featured stuff, to where it's established and we are immortalized as a Bounty Hunter Guild member and one of a kind for that second week. It was weird because my 2 favorite figures were Han Solo and Boba Fett. And I have this Matrix-like thing that overcomes me. It's almost like a Venom thing, from the movie, to where you have this sort of out-of-body experience, and all of a sudden the universe starts creating itself. Whatever situation I'm in, whether you're a married man or whether you're about to commit an act of crime or what have you, there's a part of your imagination that actually, your brain, a vast part that believes it. So I was staring across one of, ideally, it wasn't Boba, but it looks exactly like him, and staring him down. And it was just the most surreal feeling on Earth. Of course, we can go to Galaxy's Edge. You can watch it in IMAX, whatever. But again, it wasn't only taking in the joy myself, but there were certain aspects of it, or in certain moments, to where I wish I could have taken every Star Wars fan's mind when the cameras were towards my back, and have brought them into my world and brought them into my mind, to where everything escaped and I was literally in the universe. and like everything I did, dreamt of when I was a kid playing with my figures, to literally be right there within the universe, and to be staring down one of my favorite figures. It was just beyond words.
So now that you're part of this Bounty Hunter Guild, do you have lots of new friends? Do you have buddies?
Within the guild.
Within the guild, yeah. Like, are you best friends with everybody now?
I can't necessarily I can't necessarily talk about that, but ultimately, the backstory I had for my character was we're not too friendly with anybody else, to be honest. So as much as we're part of that guild, I consider this quote unquote Gecko character to sincerely be out for himself. So any of the word friend, any of my personality, I don't think would exist with him in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
And what about when the cameras aren't rolling, just the different actors over there? I imagine it's a lot different.
They allowed us to, within character, they allowed us to play a little bit in terms of some of the stuff. We would have interaction within the cantina, and it would be in terms of negotiations or things talking about a previous bounty or something in that regard. And all of us were directed to carry ourselves in a certain demeanor. You can be diplomatic or you can be completely unapologetic. And I took sort of the unapologetic route with a woman who was another bounty hunter as well, to where we were kind of having this back and forth together. And it was there was a lot of disdain and hatred, of course, subtle. We weren't going to sit there and upstage Carl and Mando, but it'll be like Abrams Zucker, like a Naked Gun version, where we have this whole friggin' thing playing out in the background. But it was very subtle, but also at the same time, they did allow us to build our characters in that regard.
Yeah. So again, for us that are not in Hollywood and on movie sets, like your direction is like, okay, I know you're in the background, but you're supposed to have these conversations. Now, are you making those up on the fly? I take it, right?
Without question. Yeah. I mean, it would always be more or less like an improv. You're giving a certain scenario.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Obviously, in the second week, it's more fleshed out. There was a very specific objective for my character as well as the other bounty hunters. Again, the other thing is I was having a recent interview in regards to developing your character. I was with Tim Robbins at the Actors Gang in 2004, to where he would go from the old style of the Commedia, where you create your character from the outside in. So I would imagine every cosplayer, whether you're an actor or not, when you start putting on those boots, when you hold that blaster in your hand, when you put on the face mask, all of a sudden things start changing within you and you start creating a different demeanor about yourself. And that's how I felt with this Gecko character. Combine that with a specific situation. You have to simplify. You cannot complicate things, but you have to simplify the situation and the scenario, and it becomes very clear for you in terms of what your objective is. And you'll see that play out in the third episode.
Yeah, that's amazing. Heather and myself, we're part of the 501st, so we kind of know a little bit about the cosplay. And so she's a Jawa, I'm a stormtrooper. So we get it. We get it.
Very cool. I've been in touch. I've been in touch with the 501st on many occasions. I'm meeting with them on December 15th. But you guys do so much community outreach, and you have my pledge throughout all the Comic-Cons. I've been telling my agents to get there, if I can get there as early as possible and leave as late as possible, to be involved in any of your local causes throughout the country as well as the world.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's fun. But no, I understand what you're saying. You're saying like part of the character development is just like getting on whatever you're getting on, and that kind of is like, hey, I'm a bounty hunter, so I can do this.
Right, without question. And I think there's certain ways. I mean, obviously, you see Mando himself within the first couple of episodes as far as playing out, sort of obviously a level of respect and a level of diplomacy. I think there's all different levels that a bounty hunter could play. But for me, in terms of what I fleshed out, was completely unapologetic. Will do anything he has to do in order to obtain a bounty, whether it be a child, a woman, or a man, whatever it takes. And I feel that he works alone.
Yeah, awesome. So you've seen the show. What do you expect out of the show? Do you see it taking off?
I think Filoni and Favreau have a good grasp in terms of what makes Star Wars special.
Yeah,
and that the character development, the base, caring about our characters. I mean, Jesus, it's been a little bit of a whirlwind, and obviously a tremendous amount of division over the last few years with the Star Wars fan base. But really, I think they have their finger on what makes Star Wars special. And I think we're in for a really good treat. Somebody asked me a couple shows ago, what era or what other Star Wars stories would you like to be explored? And the answer to that is not the era, not the character, but that I care that there is depth to the characters. And I feel that you can already get a sense that you start caring about the depth, and also not only the special effects in regards to the storyline, to where it has that texture, as opposed to just, I'm actually not even a sci-fi fan. If you just took the pew, 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 the lasers and the blasters and the spaceships, it does not mean a darn thing. But once you start bringing in the parallels to life, the mythology, the connection between father and son, the brotherhood maybe perhaps between Obi-Wan and Anakin, that is when Star Wars becomes special. But if you're just basically putting something on the surface between good and evil, and it's just very two-dimensional, I don't care who it is. It could be Terminator. I'm just not there. Yeah. So I think Filoni and Favreau have their finger on it. I think it's in very good hands. I think Kennedy's going to do a great job as well. So I think we're in for a really good treat over the next so many years.
Yeah, awesome.
So Dominic, you're going to hate me for this, but I was working on the set of a music video once, and they actually grabbed me and brought me in as an extra, and they sent me to wardrobe, got a new wardrobe on that matched the color scheme of the music video, sent me over to hair and makeup, and they just kind of gave me one look, and they're like, "Oh, you don't need any makeup. Just head on out there." That's how it is sometimes, I guess. You roll with the punches. But again, for me, I've just always stayed grounded. So you just, work is work. I had a heartbreaking situation one time with Michael Mann movie. It was called Collateral with Tom Cruise. And, I had these situations. I was supposed to play a skinhead. But the problem is Tom Cruise is very, very short. I'm 6'4". And, my only point is just in regards to just the world has a way, in the industry and whatever you're in, of just beating you around and punching you around. And I mean, even in your example, it's terms of, you just don't know what you're going to expect.
But at the same time, if you stay grounded, you're able to just kind of roll with the punches and appreciate every opportunity, whether it's the background, whether it's featured, or whether it's guest starring or starring in a movie. And like I said, I just can't tell you how appreciative I am of every opportunity, especially this one.
Well, I said it before. I mean, Star Wars, as you know, it's not only about the main characters that you see, but we're still unearthing characters like in the cantina of the, A New Hope. So,
Right.
there's all these, we love our background characters. So
Yeah.
I think you
yeah.
think you're in good hands here. So
And like I said, I'm really excited for that reason. And more importantly, in terms of making a difference, I've been involved in charities my entire career. I'm involved in the LA Mission. There's a women's downtown center for women who are homeless. There's a LA Children's Hospital. But to be able to make a difference through our joy of Star Wars, and now to be able to have this uniqueness of a character to where, again, because of fans like yourself and myself, to where those side characters are really special, to be able to make a difference in the world from this character, I'm really anticipating and very much looking forward to in terms of helping others and putting a smile on other people's faces who might be at a disadvantage in one way or another.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, that's obviously too, like, part of the 501st is just doing that too. Like, I get to sweat for Star Wars, so I'm okay with that, and I mean, it's great, but
amazing. My wife, she lost somebody, she lost her very close cousin a year ago, and like I said, at 44 years old, and much as all of us actors, us B and C listers, you're trying to grasp to have some type of validation, it gets to a certain point, like I said, and for me, this is it, to where I'm just content in what I've achieved. If anything from this point forward happens, great. But I feel like there's just a better calling in terms of, like I said, helping others. And I can't tell you how grateful I am to the 501st for supporting me, as well as the Mandalorian Mercs.
Well, I think it's obvious to everyone the kind of humility and great attitude and thankfulness that you approach your work and what you do. Do you feel that's been key to getting you where you've gotten so far?
Yes. Yes and no. I mean, I don't think you necessarily need to have that personality in order to work. But at the same time, I think in terms of longevity, in terms of your appreciation, let me tell you, the one thing that always turns me off is just the ego or attitude from actors. And the reason is I've had some tremendous inspirations firsthand, namely Hugh Jackman. For 3 months when I was on Van Helsing, photo doubling and standing in for Frankenstein, the man was just so genuine, so humble. Even if you were cleaning out the RVs, he would come up to you in the morning and just shake your hand and say hi. Will Smith, who has just a tremendous positive energy on this film that we worked on called Bright for Netflix. When you see those A-listers, those big, huge names, these movie stars of movie stars have that personality, it inspires you in one of the greatest ways to be able to be ambassadors to that, to do good. And again, like I said, life is short. You can't take things with you. Materialism for me has never been an amazing thing. But like I said, the main joy of life now at this point, to be granted with so many gifts, my beautiful sons, my grandparents who were so inspirational to me, my single mom who worked so hard to raise me. It's a time to give back now and appreciation. People are asking me, well, is the character going to continue? Are you going to be in season 2 or maybe Kenobi where you chase Luke? I have no idea. I'm not one of the, I'm not in CAA or William Morris. But ultimately, like I said, with the newfound fame, which I think is going to start next Friday, to be able to make a difference and help others is really the joy of life for me at this point now.
Yeah, awesome. That's great. Well, I mean, we told you this offline, but we'll tell you here now. I mean, Aaron and I were able to see episode 3, and I think you're going to be in good shape. So.
Oh wow! Oh my God, you saw it? You saw it?
Yeah, we saw it. We saw it.
Oh my God! Okay,
not to brag.
Not to brag or anything. Not to brag.
Oh man, God.
I'm sure you're familiar with this, but there was a fan event where they did like a Q&A with some of the actors from Mandalorian the other night, and so they kind of, for the 501st, Lucasfilm and Disney put us up in Chicago, and I know they did in New York as well as LA, and so we got to see the first 3 episodes. So
I didn't know you. Yeah, I knew out here in LA, but I didn't know in Chicago and New York. That's amazing.
Yeah. So what they did is basically they had the Q&A first for LA, and then they saw the 3 episodes. But for East Coast and Midwest, we saw the first 3 episodes, and then they then they kind of like telecast the interview for LA. So it was quite the experience, and we're really happy for you, and thank you so much for like sharing that passion with us, because that's obviously, hey, we have a Star Wars podcast, so we kind of like Star Wars, so we're like-minded in that for sure.
Hey, and like I said, even afterwards, whenever you guys need me or to chip in, or like I said, if I can send a care package to maybe, you guys want to have a contest for one of your listeners, I've got some merch now. Please just let me know. I'll be happy to send that out to you guys. I'm always appreciative of all the support of the side character that I'm, like I said, it's limited screen time, but also at the same time, I'm very appreciative.
Yeah, if you get a Black Series or a Funko Pop, you're golden, bud.
Fingers crossed, and that'll be phase 2 in terms of the campaign. Make Gecko a Black Series.
There you go. Yeah, we'll start a hashtag for all our Star Wars podcast community. We'll start a hashtag for that once.
I would love you guys. Thank you.
After episode 3, I think we're in good hands. So.
Oh my God. Woo! It was tough. It's just been quite a whirlwind because, again, you don't know how it plays out. It was about Carl, and it was about, Mando. So you just never know. It's like you're second in command, but at the same time, for any reason they can cut you here and there. So how excited and how relieved I am. Christmas is definitely
they cut Instinct from episode 2, so you never know, man.
Hey, and I mean, this is it where Angelina Jolie and Brie Larson are like freaking like sitting there handing their headshot over, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll think about it." So you just never know, You
never know, right? Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's film. Like you're gonna film as much as you can. Again, like especially when you have heavy action scenes, there's so much going on. You never know, the camera's picking up everything, but then when it gets to editing, it's like, I don't know if I want this shot, like there's only so much select time when you're trying to do kind of a TV show or even a movie. It's like, hey, that 2 seconds of that, that headshot or that close up of that character, we can't, what really sells on the camera, so that's where sometimes you do end up on the chopping, on the editing room floor. So
there was one story if I could share, and I don't mean to hurt anybody at all, but I was getting very frustrated because I was flanking Carl in this one situation, and there was another bounty hunter that was flanking him aside. And for me, again, I think every Star Wars fan would agree. You are so into it. In terms of the character and in terms of the situation. And this guy was just kind of like a featured creature or whatever, to where he's just kind of moseying on in this situation that is a very intense moment. And I remember the first AD kept going over to him and saying, "Dude, this is a freaking serious situation." Time and time again. Well, but the fear is that you're doing your job. Carl is obviously doing his job.
Right.
But this guy, it might, cause a close up just for Carl to where we don't play.
Yeah.
And I politely was just like, "Bro," I said, "Look, just here, let me show you." He had like this Gamorrean guard kind of axe to him and stuff. And I said, hold this hold it up, bro. You might not have seen ever freaking episode ever, but I can't tell you how many fans right now would kill. They would cut off their freaking arm to be in your position.
Right.
So, thank God I was just worried because he was just it was almost like a day at the freaking deli, we're all, let's all freaking, it's like, this is freaking Star Wars right now, bro.
You're like, that vibro axe might only weigh like a pound, but like, make sure it looks savvy,
Well, yeah, again, out of respect to all the fans and the 501st, it's like, freaking be in it. So I was just worried at that point because the first AD came over twice, and I was just like, please don't screw this up for me, because this is I'm playing with Carl, and that was gonna, who knows, that was gonna be your only moment to shine and to potentially get one figure, So yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Great stuff, man.
Thank you. I got it off my chest. I'm glad.
That's what
I just came out for
all about.
therapy. I didn't come out to talk to you guys. I just came out for therapy to let you know.
Right. Well, sometimes
I didn't even know if anyone was listening. I just wanted to just talk.
Sometimes it's an eternal therapy just for us when we podcast too.
True story.
Well, we really appreciate your time, Dominic. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And like I said, the other thing is, the listeners reaching out, I'm trying to answer all their messages, but just know that I'm here for you guys. I'm one of you. So there's no qualms, and airs of egotism in any way. I'm just so appreciative, and anything I can do, if I can send a video to a kid or to somebody going through a hard time, I'm right there for you guys. Like I said, just to be an ambassador of the Star Wars universe is just a dream come true.
That's awesome. Well, okay, so finally, where can people find you on the socials?
Sure. Dominic Pace, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and also Twitter there. And happy to answer all your questions and be there to support and enjoy our joy of one of the greatest franchises of all time.
Well, have that phone handy next Friday.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Such a privilege. Thank you.
All right, guys. Have a great night.
All right.
Take care.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
All right, Heather.
Sir,
News of the week.
let's do it.
And now, the Star Wars News of the Week.
All right. So I have an article here from jsonline.com, part of the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, for those people in Milwaukee, I guess.
Milwaukee.
There is a new Berlin artist making a Star Wars bear to honor a 14-year-old founder who unfortunately has passed of Kaden's wish. So before we all start weeping about the sweetness of this, let me get you a little bit more detail here. So Amy Thornton, there's an N in there, Thornton, a longtime teddy bear artist who is based in New Berlin. Her creations are displayed on shelves with Halloween and holiday inspired. She's got a steampunk bear in there.
Lots of bears.
Lots of bears. Lots of crafty relatives. So basically, she knows what she's doing. Let's just kind of wrap that up, shall we?
Mhm.
Herself and some other people in her community, it looks like, have been huge supporters of Kaden's wish from the very beginning, including silent auctions and things of that nature. Kaden, age 14, passed away September 19th, but his family vowed to continue his mission to make other kids' wishes come true through the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Kaden was diagnosed with a progressive terminal disease called Lee syndrome. It causes lack of energy to the brain and difficulty with motor functions. So obviously very sad, but was really sweet as she created this bear to look, like a Jedi, specifically looking like a Skywalker.
There you go.
So if you check out the jsonline.com and probably just search Kaden
Star Wars bear. Yeah.
Star Wars bear, you'll find the article. So you get to see a really cute picture of both Kaden as well as the bear. So gentlemen, how do we feel about this really sweet honor to Kaden and honoring Star Wars?
Well, I think it's the perfect way, really, just because it's Star Wars above anything else is like this archetypal story, and the fact that it can draw on these symbols and transform them in new and different ways and in different environments to appeal to all sorts of people in all sorts of situations. I think that's beautiful, and I think it's a fitting tribute to somebody who loves Star Wars so much to be able to pass that on to other kids even after they've moved on. So,
yeah.
Beautifully said.
Yeah. Gee, I don't have to say anything more. I just think, Star Wars is family. And so I think that's what, that kind of love and passion is still passed on by others. And that is fantastic. And they're cool bears. So there you go.
There you go.
Yeah. Awesome.
I do have to say, looking at the story is like looking at an old friend, because I'm very familiar with this part of Wisconsin. They mentioned a Champs restaurant in Brookfield that Miss Thornton goes to. I've actually eaten there. I've got family up in New Berlin, so
wow, cool, man.
Yeah, pretty cool to see that.
That's awesome. It's like Force Ghost. There's like you were there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. Very cool. Yeah, great story. Great story.
Awesome.
All right.
Aaron.
Next up on the docket, Star Wars invades Fortnite with the new
What?
skin and incoming Star Destroyer.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so it was pretty much inevitable that Star Wars is going to cross over with Fortnite. So Fortnite is kicking off its Star Wars crossover, and admittedly, not much is there, but there's the promise of more to come. So an hour before the event happened, some data miners, which are people who go through game files to try to find information, they found a new skin and a new vehicle coming to the game. The vehicle is a Star Destroyer. You can't fly it. You can barely even see it. But right now, it's hovering off the west coast of the Chapter 2 map, way up in space.
All right.
Stands to reason that it may move closer as time goes on, and we might see some sort of related map event as it might start blasting away at the map for some reason.
It'd be fantastic if the Star Destroyer just like blew up all of Fortnite.
Yeah. And if you don't know, Fortnite is kind of famous for these events that change the map and, they could span weeks at a time. And they don't really announce it or say anything about it, but these events just kind of happen. Like the whole game got destroyed for a few days.
No big deal.
While they moved on to a new map. So that's the vehicle, Star Destroyer. And then the skin, it's a Stormtrooper. It's a TK unit.
Duh.
Standard set, not the Clone Trooper era, not the First Order era, just original, classic TK Stormtrooper outfit.
Yeah, there you go.
And there's an update. You can get the Stormtrooper skin for free if you buy Jedi Fallen Order through the Epic Store.
There you go.
So we don't really know anything about what's happening, except Fortnite just posted a event trailer on their Twitter.
Oh,
So,
there you go. See?
go check it out.
It's happening.
It's happening. Todd, you got something for us?
Oh, yeah. All right. You sitting down, guys?
Yes.
All right, good. I think so. Let me check my surroundings. Yes. Disney reveals release schedule through 2023, including Marvel, Pixar, and Star Wars. This is coming from Collider.com. And so the list is exhaustive. It includes 5 untitled Marvel films, 4 untitled Pixar films, 3 untitled Disney animated films, and 20 untitled Fox projects. Yes.
Wow.
Hey, busy over there.
Yeah. So on the Marvel end of things, we have Black Widow in May of 2020, The Internals in November 2020, Doctor in the Multiverse of Madness. Now that's a title. In May 2021, Thor: Love and Thunder.
That's a title.
That's a title. The font, the title is amazing because it's like He-Man. Is in November of 2021. Black Panther 2, May 2022. Jeez. That's like 3 years from now. Okay. Also, we have untitled Indiana Jones scheduled for July of 2021. Yes, dude.
I thought that was dead.
Yeah, it's alive. It's happening. Steven Spielberg's West Side Story is scheduled for December of 2020. So, yep, there you go. Of course, Avatar 2 and 3, the boldest call shots in the film history, are due for December 2021 and December 2023. That's finally going.
Only took 13 years.
Yes. So here's the thing.
Yes.
And finally, there's a single untitled Star Wars film for the roster of December 2022. So likely the first film of Rian Johnson's new trilogy, question mark. But with all the chaos behind the scenes in Star Wars lately, who knows?
Who knows?
So, guys, Heather, what do you think of this crazy Disney schedule?
Well, with the success of Crystal Skull, I'm sure we really do need another Indiana Jones movie. And
Need more
then
butts. Yeah.
I feel like have we learned nothing about taking classics and redoing them and knowing that they go badly? I don't know why West Side Story is happening, but I'll let it slide, I guess. But yeah, I'm all for the Black Widow film.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge Doctor Strange fan, so that's not really gonna kill me. I'm assuming this Thor Love and Thunder is Natalie Portman's Thor. The female Thor as opposed to Chris Hemsworth Thor. But maybe I'm wrong. It is, right? Yeah.
It's happening. Yeah, it's happening.
So we'll give that a shot. And then yeah. Those are my thoughts. I'll believe it when I see it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so Marvel's gonna Marvel, so I'm not surprised there. But yeah, I don't think we need another Indiana Jones. Nice to see there's at least going to be some more Avatar.
Yeah.
But yeah, are we going to have a few years with no Star Wars?
I mean, it's looking like it, right?
I mean, we got the Mandalorian, but
right. But from
how long can that last before they're going to be like, stick around for season 2? So,
well, they're already filming.
I was going to say, aren't they filming? Yeah.
They are, but it's not going to be done by the time they're done releasing season 1.
True.
So it'll probably be enough to tide us over, I hope.
I think
I just shrugged. Nobody saw that.
Shrugging.
Shrugging.
Yeah. All right. So, Todd, any thoughts before we head to our next news item?
No, I mean, it's crazy. It's just crazy that they're filming all that. So I'm interested to see how it's going to happen. And then, like, literally, they say 20 Fox projects. What the heck is that? So, Disney be busy. So I think, and like 4 Pixar films. I mean, that's crazy to me. That's just crazy. But there's a lot moving. That's the thing about the movie industry. There's a lot moving behind the scenes, and all these projects are all at these different stages. So they kind of already know the plan. We're just like start getting that trickled in. And you're like, oh, okay, this is happening. Yeah, this is happening because it takes so long to kind of develop those things. So be interested to see how that goes.
Right on.
All right. Aaron.
All right. So astute watchers of Disney Plus over the last week have noticed that there's been another change to an iconic Star Wars scene. So everybody knows the special edition has done a number on that Han shot first cantina scene in A New Hope. So originally, Han shot first. He just blasted Greedo through the table. Then Special Edition changed it so that Greedo shot first, and Han kind of ducks out of the way a little bit before shooting. And now they changed it a little bit again for the Blu-ray, where they kind of both fire at the same time. And now on Disney Plus, that version, before Han fires, Greedo now not only shoots first, but also shouts what sounds like McClunky. You can't make this up.
It's so crazy to me.
Yeah. So here's what happened. A Lucasfilm representative confirmed that creator George Lucas signed off on the change back in 2012 prior to them getting bought out by Disney. But this is the first time that the new version has been publicly released. Todd, we were talking about this where your theory or what you heard was that this change was made for when they thought they were going to convert all the films to 3D. Is that right?
Yeah. So right. So George was on a kick and kind of reformatting 3D prints for all the films, and they actually released The Phantom Menace, which actually had a little bit different version that was, he was tweaking with it again, had a little different version. And then so I think the whole plan was that he was going to release all the 3D films. Phantom Menace didn't fare as well. And so they kind of just stopped and they never went any further. So this is part of him messing around, getting the film ready for the 3D print. So yes, this is George, not Disney, altering the scene once more. It's crazy. It's crazy to me.
They just need to leave well enough alone at this point.
Maybe.
Yeah, here we are.
I don't know.
Heather, any thoughts?
I just don't know what to believe anymore.
Well, you originally have, in the original cut, Han tells Greedo, you're going to take the Millennium Falcon over my dead body. And then Greedo says, that's the idea. So it's pretty clear, like, he's going to kill Han.
Right.
Correct.
But they've been trying to soften the blow ever since. And it just makes it worse and worse.
Yeah, I don't get this, man. I don't know. It's a weird shot of, it's almost like a pan and scan shot of like Greedo too. It's like real close up and it's like, McClunkey!
Yeah.
And it doesn't even sound like him.
I know, they probably dubbed it in with...
It's probably George.
Yeah, it's George himself.
McClunkey! It's crazy. It's crazy to me.
All right. I think we got one last news item. Heather, take it away.
We do indeed. So, sci-fi.com, we learn about a rock band known as Portugal. The man made history this week by becoming the first professional musical act to perform at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge in Anaheim, California. The performance took place right in front of the Millennium Falcon, and it's going to air later this month on ABC as part of 2 holiday specials.
Someone say holiday special?
That's right. See what I did there?
They did say Life Day. Life Day of Mandalorian.
So the band's bass player, Zachary, has stated, I've been a Star Wars fan for as long as I can remember anything. We've played some amazing places, but I've never turned around to see our drummer and look up and see the Millennium Falcon. Wild. Both Disney and Star Wars have been gigantic influences in my life. It's where I come from. This to come full circle and be part of these stories going forward is extremely fulfilling. So sci-fi.com has some great photos of the band in front of the Falcon. He goes on to state that the entire park sucks you in. It makes you feel like you're part of the world. But not only did they perform at Galaxy's Edge, they took place on the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run ride. So there's a fun little photo of them there. But yeah, so just the article kind of just goes on to talk about their fun adventures. Some great photos with all the lasers and things. But
laser beams.
Lasers. But The Wonderful World of Disney Magical Holiday Celebration will premiere on Thanksgiving Day. So you'll get to see the band's performance then. That's what I have.
That's what you have. Yeah, that's awesome.
Jedi rock and roll. I've never heard of this band before. I feel very, very old.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never heard of them either. So.
I don't know.
I'm not hip with the kids.
Wait, Aaron, you haven't heard of them?
No.
Ah, dude, then, yeah, these guys are way too hip for us then.
I know.
Dun, dun, dun.
All right, I think it's time we head on over to Cantina Chat.
All right, Aaron, welcome to Cantina Chat.
Oh yeah, I forgot this thing existed.
What you been up to?
It's been a while. Well, still going on with JD's Star Wars game, which is why I haven't been here. But and that's going tremendously well. But I did something I've been keeping from you.
What?
Yeah, a little hobby I picked up back in August. I picked up the bass guitar, and I've been practicing that. And I got inspired after seeing The Mandalorian, and I spent like 4 hours one night trying to play the theme to The Mandalorian. And so I looked online. There were no tabs available anywhere. For non-guitar players, a tab is basically sheet music for a guitar. And there's nothing out there. So I just learned it by ear. And then I wrote it down and I submitted it to Ultimate Guitar and it got approved. So I'm a bit of a celebrity.
You're so cool.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that you're the first person to write it down for the bass guitar and now it's approved.
Yeah. So it's up there.
Is your name associated with it?
Yeah. Yeah. So head on over to Ultimate Guitar, search the Mandalorian theme, and you'll find my handiwork.
Oh my gosh.
I also managed to record it. So you can listen to it right now. Enough of that. Heather, what have you been up to?
Dude, no, I'm going back to our poll. Mind blown.
Thank
Awesome.
you. Glad you like it.
Oh my goodness.
The talent just seeps out of you, man.
It's too much.
I would, if George was around, I would say fabuloso.
Fabuloso.
Well, unfortunately, the real world has sort of taken over my life for the past couple of weeks. Because if I don't do the adulting, I don't get the money, and then the money doesn't do the Star Wars thing. So,
yeah.
But I did order all of my parts for my Jawa sound glove, so they're all sitting on my dining room table.
Whoa!
Now I just have to put it all together. So wish me luck, because I've never done anything like that before. I've got my little mini soundboard and all my little things. Got the YouTube video, so I should be okay.
Right on.
That's awesome.
So that's sort of the big thing that's on the list. And then, obviously Disney Plus, Mandalorian, all the normal things that come along with that.
Right on. Well, Todd, what says you?
So I finished Star Wars Resistance Reborn, which is a new book. So it's kind of like the prequel to The Last Jedi, or not The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker. So it's just kind of taking where the Resistance is at, which is all basically in the Millennium Falcon, and what the heck do we do to kind of rebuild this? And that's what Resistance Reborn is. It's a great audiobook. Our friend Mark Thompson narrated it. He's a gem. I love him. So you can definitely check that out if you want to at audible.com/WSTR media to get your 30-day free trial. It's really good. Check that out. Wednesday, Aaron and I had the privilege of going to see The Mandalorian.
Yes.
But not only see The Mandalorian, we got to see it, first of all, in a theater.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, 3 episodes.
Yes.
Not just 1, but 3 episodes. And then we got to see the LA kind of Q&A event that was on the LA. So they did New York, Chicago, and LA that I know about. And so we had 3 garrisons. So Disney and Lucasfilm were kind enough to throw this out to the 501st. So we had 3 garrisons that kind of were in the Midwest that were able to go. And a shout out to Liz. She gave me her ticket. I heart you. So anyways, they threw it out on the boards, and it was like, oh, I was working. I'm like, yeah, I'll try to check that later. And then when it went back in, it was already gone. So it was very sad. But somebody couldn't go. Liz couldn't go, and she's like, you want my ticket? And I was like, yes.
Mhm.
And then I speed dial Aaron. I'm like, dude, do you want to go to the Mandalorian?
Yeah,
So-
he's like, I'm sorry, it's last minute, but do you want to go tomorrow? And I'm like, well,
Maybe.
I'm a single student. I've got no life, so sure.
So it was really cool. I mean, honestly, it's just it just played like the episodes. There wasn't any filler, so we just saw the end credits, and then the next one popped up, and the next
Yeah.
one. So it was fantastic. It was fantastic. So
Oh, it was so good.
Yeah,
we,
and-
we can't even talk about what happened, but
yeah, right. We signed a blood oath and all that kind of jazz, but
yeah.
just seeing it in the theater was a very cool experience. And obviously with all your Star Wars buddies, and we're all laughing at the same things. We're all getting it, and when we saw episode 2, like the Jawas like get disintegrated, and you're like, they really did that.
Yeah.
They really did that. They really did that. And we're all like laughing, oh man.
Oh man.
It was a good time. So I'm totally team Baby Yoda and all that kind of stuff. So, Heather, what do you think about Team Baby Yoda?
Oh my goodness, Baby Yoda. I'm pretty confident the first words that came out of my mouth at the beginning of episode 2 were, if anything happens to Baby Yoda, there's going to be like a snowstorm of Twitter reactions, I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah.
You want to see angry Star Wars fans?
You thought The Last Jedi was bad, people.
But is like Baby Yoda like going to bond the Star Wars community? And I say yes.
But
That's
is
just
it
might.
even Yoda? Or is it just we don't know.
There's such a cool shot, and the music is so on point when in episode 2, when the sun is rising and you see them walking up, like they coming towards the camera, and there's like the little baby pod and the Mandalorian coming up, and I'm just like,
yeah. Classic Western shot.
I mean, it's a classic Western shot. And so the other thing I don't know if you guys kept, the main poster. One of the main posters is like the Mandalorian's kind of it's flat, and you can kind of see him in the distance and stuff like that. And they have that shot, but they also have it with the baby pod, and they just Photoshop the baby pod out of it. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
dude, that's slicky slick, man. That's that's perfect, like marketing, because it is a really cool shot. It's not the sun one, but it's kind of like dusk, and you just see him kind of walking, and you're just like, dude, what? Oh, there's the baby pod. They deleted the baby pod. How could they do that? So, yeah. But anyways, Mando is fantastic. It's everything I want it to be, and then really the Q&A. I was really surprised. Like Aaron and I were about to leave. We're like, because at this point it's like.
It's like 11:15 at night.
11:15. I'm like, I got to get to work. I have to be responsible. And we're like, let's go. And then they started. We're like, no, sit down. And I mean, I think my observation from that is that these guys really take heart to what's going on. And if you're not familiar with Dave Filoni, you need to be, because was it Bryce Howard or something? She's like, yeah, my dad was talking to me, who's Ron Howard, and basically saying like, George really feels like Dave is like his son, and drop that, like, boom. And you get to see like Dave getting kind of like taking that to heart, And then there was another part where Dave was talking. He's like, man, his dad obviously passed away. He's like, my dad would be really proud of me and stuff like that. And he like got really choked up, and you're just like, this dude's all in, man, on this thing. And I think that just shows the product that you're seeing on the, what you're seeing with Dave and John. And I think that's like fantastic. So I'm really excited for the show. I have been excited for the show. And now technically 3 in, I'm sold. Just, you didn't need to take my money. My money was already there, but it's been great. So.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So thank you.
By the way, I think Baby Yoda has been engineered in a lab to be the cutest thing in the world.
In the world? I mean, yeah.
It's the Disney magic.
Well, and I honestly, what sells it for me is like the point of views. Like you're seeing like there's a one shot where he's kind of looking, he's going to go in the cave and you don't know what's in the cave. And you like barely see the eye level, like over his little baby pod. And there's just close-ups of like, even the beginning of episode 2, when all the little creatures are like coming towards him, like, he has that force, like they're curious about him, and he's just so cute and so observant. I'm just like,
yeah,
it's like they like grabbed a gremlin and Yoda, put them together, like a little Gizmo, and Baby Yoda. So I don't know if do you think we're going to find out his name?
I hope so. I mean, they gotta call the action figure something.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Well, currently right now, Werner Herzog's character is just called the Client.
Yeah.
So I think I like the mystery part of it.
Well,
like you don't know,
And my other new favorite character that, speaking of cosplaying, Dominic, the Armorer girl. I'm all for that. Sign this girl up. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
With the fur cape and the little spikes on the Mandalorian hat.
So, is she Dathomir, or is she just adopting the Dathomir culture?
That's a good
Aaron
question.
and I, Aaron and I were talking about this in the car.
Should I know what Dathomir is?
Yeah, Darth Maul.
Oh. Excuse me, I'll be back.
No, well, their species is called Zarbak. I think that's I don't know. I think that's the name. But Zabrak. But they're from Dathomir, which is the planet. It's they had a series in Clone Wars. See how I'm so glad you're watching Clone Wars. This is gonna be another one. They go so heavy into Mandalorian culture. You're gonna love it. But there's like an off group with Darth Maul, and they all have these spiky helmets to kind of like reflect who their leader is. And so she kind of has that deal. But Aaron and I were talking about this, and this is, and you kind of mentioned this, Aaron, a little bit when we were doing the poll. The storytelling in that little scene is probably one of my favorite. It's like you have her forging his new armor. You have the flashbacks of like when he's a foundling, and there's barely any dialogue between the two of them. And you get so much.
You totally get it.
You get it. You understand, like, even when she sits down, she's just commands presence. Like, this girl is like, and they just nod. Yep. And, like you hear about the Great Purge. So you're wondering, is that the Jedi Purge? Is that now, are we talking about kind of Old Republic stuff where the Sith kind of take out the Mandalorian? Like what kind of purge are we talking about, and why are they in hiding? So I'm very interested in, like, that's such great TV and filmmaking where you can kind of get all that story and not a lot of words are being there. I was just like, dude,
wow.
Take my money. So
it's like the opposite storytelling strategy of the prequels. It's like they show, don't tell.
Yeah, right.
It's so good.
Well, and Werner Herzog said this also in the QA. He's like, this is not green screen. Like, this is like real. The camera picks up real things. And it's kind of a knock, but also they're also talking about, I don't know, John closed his eyes and spouted out these like crazy technology things. Like we had no idea what he's talking about, but they're using Unreal, which if you're not familiar with that, is a video game engine to render stuff real time to extend the set while they're on set so the actors know what's going on. And it's just like, I want that behind the scenes stuff so I can see that movie magic. It's just,
that's the same game engine as Fortnite.
Yeah. Yes.
Tying into our news item.
Tying it in. Yeah. So, it's really cool. So I'm super excited for the show, and it's exciting. It excites me even more for like what they're going to do with Obi-Wan and all this kind of stuff. So anyways, Mandalorian chat, whatever you want. What do we call it? What do we say, Aaron, we're going to call it?
The Chattalorian.
Chattalorian. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to have to make a new segment.
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't mean to take it over, but I really so happy for the show.
I mean, how could you not?
I mean, again, and I literally have been saying I've spoken since.
Yes.
It's like I've spoken. I said in the car today, and Jen's like, "What?" I'm like, "Mandalorian," So, yeah, super stoked. And like Ellie wants a blurg, so that's the little lizard guy that it's like, she's like, "Can I have a blurg? Those are so cool." And she's like, "I want to tame it like the Mandalorian did." I'm like, "Okay, let's get one. Come on, Black Series."
There you go.
Yeah. And then Jedi Fallen Order came out, so been playing that. It's beautiful.
Is it any good?
Beautiful, Aaron. It's beautiful. It's tough. It's tough. It's kind of like Dark Souls and Uncharted.
Really?
Yeah. And like a little Tomb Raider, I guess you could say. Super tough. And another thing, it's just like, this is Star Wars, and I'm just diving into it, so I don't want to it's the best thing ever, but I think so far I really enjoyed what I've done, played so far. So, and it's kind of like you have to go back, it's not like linear, like you can go back and forth, and you could try a really difficult spot, or you can come back when you're kind of a little bit more suited for that. So anyways, really cool. Been playing that. So yeah, busy week. Fantastic.
Awesome.
I love Star Wars.
I'll have to see if Santa's generous this year. And,
right. Thanks.
Get that game.
What I'm saying is, don't wait 2 years like Battlefront. Like, seriously, you have to pick this up after you're done with school.
I need to make money.
I need the money. Yeah.
Yes. I need to score a few bounties, and then maybe I could pick it up.
There you go.
All right. Well,
Woo.
Heather,
sorry. Let's wrap everything up in a best car bow.
All right, let's see if we can do this. What a crazy episode. Fans, friends, thanks again for listening to another episode of WSTR Galactic Public Access. Please check us out on our social media. We are WSTR Media. We're all lowercase. It's all one word. We're easy to find. And we want to hear from you. It doesn't need to be just us talking. So comment, tweet us. You can rate us on the Apple Podcast. Or if you've got lots to say, you can email us at mailbox@wstrmedia.com, or you can leave us a voicemail. You can call 630-557-WSTR, which is also 630-557-9787. And if you leave the voicemail, we'll play it on a podcast. It's that simple. We also are available at podcast.wstrmedia.com for our back catalog and all the links to all the different places. We have merch. That's store.wstrmedia.com. And as eloquently stated earlier, covering from head to toe.
He struggled a little bit with that, but
it was hard. But he got there, people, and that's going.
Like a true professional.
Yes, yes.
Fall off the blurg, you get right back on.
That's right.
Oh man. And we're still super excited about our new adventure into Patreon. And we just want you to be a part of that with us. So that is patreon.com/WSTR media. And we are so thankful for Dominic for coming on and sharing his heart and his passion for his new role and his love of Star Wars. So I know you're going to want to check him out. So be sure to check out Twitter at Dominic Pace and Instagram Dominic Pace 1, it looks like. Next week, we've hit a milestone. Episode 150.
That is so crazy to me. It's like, I can't believe that. And it's fantastic.
Yeah. It's surreal.
Yeah. It's like, Dominic was talking about like having that surreal experience. And then when you see that number, you're like, wait, I just like, I feel like we hit episode 100. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And now like, we're already at 150.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, that was like so last year, and now it's like already happening.
So last year.
Now.
Yeah,
Oh wait,
we're coming up on 3 years now.
Ugh. The weird thing is like I think anytime, is a good time for Star Wars, right? But like you can come in whenever, but I don't know. I just feel like, we don't know where the state of Star Wars is going to be, but I really feel like we're in a good spot.
Yeah.
It's like,
Right
that's
place
good.
at the right time.
Right place, right time, so. It's been a
Wow.
pleasure. It's been a pleasure. So what are we going to do 150? Do we have a tease?
I've got 2 words for you fine folk for episode 150.
Fine folk?
Consider it your teaser for the next episode. And that is Yub-Nub.
Ah!
Start whittling your sticks right now because it's happening.
But before that, I'm going to see you two tomorrow.
What? Why is that, Aaron?
We've got a live event going on.
Oh my gosh!
If you're
the
listening,
nerd show.
Yeah, if you're listening to this now, it's a bit too late. But
Right.
Sunday, November 17th, Todd, Heather, and I are going to be in person doing a live podcast with a bunch of other fine folks at the Alley Cat Comic Shop in Chicago. It's going to be a hoot, and we'll have some audio for you, so stick around.
Stick around. Yeah, that would be also probably in episode 150,
Yeah.
Probably.
Probably. Yeah. Probably, yes.
All right. There's only
That's
one
it.
way to end an episode like this.
Yeah.
Now, this is podcasting. All right. Let's go sit in the makeup chair together.
Right. 4 hours of makeup.